I'm Carrie Peters, a recognized thought leader in the Microsoft Dynamics community and a Microsoft MVP for business applications. Welcome to the Get Your New View podcast. Keep listening to learn how we work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers that they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system.
Welcome to this episode of the Get Your New View podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Cari Corozza, who is our accounting manager, a consultant, and a trainer with our company, and she's here to talk to us today about bank reconciliations as a phase 2 project. Cari, why do you think companies put off bank reconciliation until phase 2?
That's a great question, Carrie, and thank you for having me. I would say probably most companies are actually doing a bank reconciliation, but they might be doing it in Excel. So even if they're using an ERP system or QuickBooks, they might just be dumping all of those transactions to Excel, dividing out their checks, their deposits, and then going through line by line and reconciling against the bank statement. So I've seen a lot of companies that implement Business Central or upgrade to Business Central, and maybe they put off that step because they're not 100% sure how to use the bank rec in Business Central. They're familiar with Excel, so they continue to do it that way. They also might not be aware that there's really nice assisted setup features to be able to import your bank transaction lines into Business Central, as well as an auto match feature. So the nice thing is that I can basically import my bank statement with a nice user-friendly assisted setup. It'll create that data exchange definition, and then the system will go through and match up between the bank transactions and your bank subledger in Business Central. So I think kind of a multitude of reasons, but I think usually users are comfortable with Excel and maybe scared of how to do it in Business Central and don't quite know how.
Makes sense. Is it difficult to do this project after go live?
It's not difficult, but there's a few things that you might want to consider. So the first thing is making sure that you have the right bank transaction format to be able to do the assisted setup to import your bank transactions. And I say bank transactions because usually we're not pulling a bank statement and importing it, we're usually pulling the transactions. So if you are looking at this, you want to make sure that you can get in your bank and get a download in CSV format of the bank transactions. And then the user is going to very easily be able to go through an assisted setup wizard and create that format to be able to import their bank transactions moving forward. So probably can be done in about 30 seconds with that file.
That's awesome. Do you have a customer story to share with us about a company who put bank reconciliations into place as a phase 2 project?
I do, but in this case, the customer is actually going to be New View Strategies. So we upgraded to Business Central, I think probably 2 to 3 years ago. And at that point, we had the auto match option available for the bank rec. But, we maybe don't have a ton of transactions, or I actually keep pretty up to date, and our company keeps up to date with recording those transactions in Business Central. So I felt fairly confident at month end that I could actually use the feature called Suggest Lines and basically copy over my entries in Business Central to my bank statement, put in that bank statement ending balance, and it would balance. So that worked for a while. And then there were a few months where maybe I was gone a couple days or missed transactions, and I spent too much time at month end trying to figure out what's this one transaction that I either recorded wrong or didn't record at all. So I did exactly what we tell customers not to do of, dumping things into Excel and kind of going through line by line. And I caught myself and I said, okay, it's, there's a really easy assisted setup option for this. Why don't I use it? And so I got our bank transactions in that CSV format. 30 seconds later, was able to import our bank statement, use the auto match feature in Business Central in the bank rec to match up those transactions. And the first month, it took me probably 30 seconds to be able to find the one transaction that I had recorded incorrectly. So I should have done this sooner, but I'm glad that we have it set up now, and it does make it so much easier at month end.
Do you have phase 2 projects that have been on your to-do list for way too long? Did your team ever really get good training to understand how to use your business software? Do you think you could use more features of your software if you just knew how? Are you frustrated with inefficiency that never seems to get better? Do you suspect that there just has to be a better way, but you don't know what that is? We believe every company can benefit from increased efficiency and higher utilization of their software, and that it's possible to have fun while learning exactly how to do that. The experts at NewView Strategies work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system. Please contact us at getyournewview.com to get started. I love that. And it's a good illustration of the fact that we try to put all the things in place that we tell our customers to do, and sometimes we don't get to it very quickly. So I'm glad that you caught yourself on that and saved yourself that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the other things too that we can consider when we're getting ready for that is making sure that the way we are recording our cash transactions is similar to how they're going to hit the bank. So if one customer payment is hitting the bank as a lump sum, we also want to make sure we use a process that records it similarly in Business Central. The bank rec and Microsoft are doing, improvements to make the matching a little bit better, but it's nice to have, a one-to-one transaction or a many-to-many if that's the case. So looking at how we record vendor payments and customer cash receipts can also be part of the process in making sure that our system is set up to have the data presented in the right way.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So when you work with a customer with bank reconciliation, you also go back into those other processes and take a look to make sure that those processes are making sense and that they're not going to have difficulty in one area where it's easier in another area. We want it to be easy in all areas, right?
Absolutely. And I think this is a good way too to show people that there are different ways of doing customer receipts. So I can think of 4 different manners offhand that you can use to actually record customer cash receipts. So it gives us a chance to review those other processes that feed into the bank transactions directly and just review, is there a way that we could be doing vendor payments better, customer cash receipts better? So it kind of lets us look at all of those things feeding into the bank rec.
Yeah, awesome. So can you just summarize for those who are listening, what are the primary benefits of using bank reconciliation in Business Central?
I would say the main thing is you are going to save yourself a whole lot of time, a whole lot of manual matching, and you can completely eliminate that Excel spreadsheet. So if you have a bank rec format saved on your desktop, you can delete that. You'll no longer need to be able to use that Excel document. In addition to that, I think it's nice to just have your bank recs stored in Business Central. I know a lot of companies might just be using Excel and keeping those externally, but the more that we can get kind of everything within our system, we're going to be able to find all that information in one place. So it's also going to be a huge time saver though, like I mentioned.
Yeah. So what are the top things that companies should prepare to be ready for a project like this?
That's a really good question. I think the one thing I mentioned of making sure you can get that file format from your bank correctly. So a lot of companies will look in statements and try to get an Excel statement. But again, that's not necessarily what we want. What we want is a listing of those transactions. So you might have to go to a different spot in your bank website to be able to get that. And we do need to make sure it's in a CSV format. I would also say, kind of looking at the processes that you're using to record your vendor and customer payments and making sure that that's probably similar to how it's being presented on your bank. So that might or might not cause issues in matching if it's not the same, but it's just best process to record it the same in the system as it is in the bank. So I think those are probably the 2 main things. And then also just making sure that if it's your first bank rec in the system, you know what your approach is. So if you've been live for 2 years on Business Central and have not posted one bank rec in the system, do you want to do one bank rec for each year with all of, the lines for the year on one bank rec? Do you want to go month by month? So just kind of knowing what your plan is to not create too much work for yourself, but also have that historical record in the system.
Very good. So how does NewView make it easy to implement this kind of project?
So we have proven processes with bank recs, and we're able to help with that assisted setup option if needed. Sometimes it can be very straightforward and it works great, but I know that one of my colleagues had an issue with being able to create that assisted setup data exchange definition import for the bank's transactions, but then the second time they went to actually import the transactions, there was an issue. So I won't say which bank it was, but there's an article out there that my colleague wrote on it in case you have any issues. And we just kind of were able to walk through that and troubleshoot, because it wasn't something that necessarily that the normal end user would know how to even look into, how to look at the data exchange definition and what's happening. So that additional support, if it's needed with the assisted setup. And then just understanding how the functionality works with the auto match, with the bank rec, creating it, posting it, all of that. And I do know that there were some unhappy users earlier this year and late last year because Microsoft was attempting to make the bank rec better, but it might have looked like you had a balance or a variance, even though you didn't. So you could still post, or maybe it looked like you didn't have a variance, but you did. So kind of just that support of, if things are changing with the bank rec, we can help keep you updated on what those changes are and essentially what that means for you.
Excellent. If you're listening to this episode and this is a project that you're interested in, contact us today. It's super easy. Just send a quick email to info@getyournewview.com and we'll set up a quick 30-minute call to talk about how you can get phase 2 projects like this done at your company.
Did your team ever really get good training to understand how to use your business software? Do you think you could use more features of your software if you just knew how? Are you frustrated with inefficiency that never seems to get better? Do you suspect that there just has to be a better way, but you don't know what that is? We believe every company can benefit from increased efficiency and higher utilization of their software, and that it's possible to have fun while learning exactly how to do that. The experts at NewView Strategies work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better decisions, and even love their system. Please contact us at getyournewview.com to get started.